What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and I am working on this Captain Marvel rant video. I don't know, there's just a lot of problems with that one right now, but I think this one could easily be uploaded because the 2024 slate of comic book movies, listen, it's clearly an answer to 2023. One of these projects made it out of 2023, and they thought they could get away from me. You can never get away from me, Craven the Hunter. But anyways, 2024 was clearly, we're gonna not only do a ranking of what I'm most excited for, but also just like really breaking down how this is an answer to 2023. I think 2023 for comic book movies was so bad that Marvel and DC was like, we gotta take a break. We're still gonna release Deadpool 3 and Joker 2, but we're gonna take a break, which has left the field wide open for next year in terms of comic book movies because the main player is Sony next year, and we're gonna see. I mean, the Madam Web trailer is gonna drop tomorrow, so I will cover that because I don't have anything. Actually, tomorrow's gonna be my day off, so I will cover the Madam Web trailer. I will for sure have my opinions about whatever they put out there. Maybe Madam Web might be good. Maybe Madam Web might change my opinion on its ranking, but overall, let's do this. And actually, before we even get into this, it actually just hit me that most of this list are R-rated movies. Deadpool 3, Joker 2, and Craven. And there's a potential. I mean, I don't think Venom 3 is going to be rated R, but yeah, most of the projects coming out this next year is rated R. So that's actually pretty interesting. But without further ado, let's get to this ranking. And coming in fifth place is Craven the Hunter. Out of all of these movies, we've seen the most out of Craven because Craven was supposed to come out last October. It was actually supposed to come out last month, but because of the SAG-AFTRA strike, which has thankfully ended, Craven was delayed, and Sony delayed it all the way till August 30th of 2024. And I still don't give a shit about this movie. They dropped the teaser trailer, the Red Band trailer. That trailer was horrible. That trailer was like, I mean, there was zero expectations for this movie, and I was still disappointed. So that's unique, Sony. I've never seen a studio that releases a trailer to a movie that I have zero expectations about, like rock bottom, and I still walk out of it like, wow, I can't believe you're actually releasing this. Also, with Spider-Man 2, the video game that has recently came out, they did a perfect adaptation of Craven the Hunter. And I look at this movie and I'm like, you should be embarrassed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. You have one of the best Craven adaptations with Spider-Man 2. These things were supposed to come out in the same month. This movie would have been clowned on, obliterated. But obviously, they delayed it. So we're gonna have to wait another year for this movie. I'm not excited for it. I think they miscast Craven. I think there's just so many problems with this movie. Oof. And I think Sony's just gonna do more damage to the superhero brand because Marvel Studios is making B-level movies. DC hasn't. I mean, DC, I don't know where the quality, what happened. Because 2022, the Batman, Peacemaker, those were phenomenal. 2023, you're like, the Shazam 2, yikes. The Flash, yikes. The Blue Beetle, it was cool. Not like Batman level or Peacemaker level good, but it was okay. It was okay. And then you look at Aquaman 2, you're like, ooh, I don't know about that one. That doesn't look all that great. So Marvel and DC already, they're having their issues. And I think Sony's not, I think, especially after, like, we're really going to have to break down this because I think Sony's just going to do more damage. I think if people are not willing to turn up for an MCU movie, I don't know if there's any hope for people turning out for a Sony movie, especially for a movie that looks like Craven the Hunter. But anyways, let's get to number 4. Number 4 is Madam Web, and as I said, it could move up or it could move down depending on the trailer. I think what honestly interests me more is the cast. Sydney Sweeney, I like her. That's it. And then Dakota Johnson is a pretty cool actress, and there was a plot summary for Madam Web, and I was like, this doesn't sound like a good movie, but this sounds really interesting. Like, this sounds very unique. For a comic book, not for a comic book movie, but I guess it's just very unique. It's not really a plot that you've seen in the comic book movie space. I mean, you've seen the plot. It's basically Terminator, but with Spider Women. But if I was Sony, I'd be a little scared about this movie, especially how the Marvels performed. I'd be like, oof, you know, three female leads in one movie. We better hope the story is at least stronger than the Marvels. So yeah, and if they, hey man, I mean, it's tough out here. It's really tough out here. It's tough out here, right? I mean, did DC try their crack on an all female superhero group? It didn't work. Marvel tried their crack on a all female team. It didn't work. Can Sony crack the code with Madam Web? I don't know. Also, Madam Web is just a very bizarre character to do a standalone movie with. Not to say there isn't a lot of story potential with just having the character of Madam Web, but a whole movie with Madam Web, it's a little like weird because like, what is the plot gonna be? We're gonna find out in the trailer tomorrow. And I wish I kind of saved this, but at the same time, I already kind of planned this video. And I just found out right now has a filming that they are going to do a trailer tomorrow. So we'll see how Madam Web turns out. But after the Marvels, I bet you Sony looked at that slate and was like, I'm not confident. I think only Venom 3 might do good. Let's talk about Venom 3. We know nothing about this movie. And I put it above Madam Web, and I put it above Craven, because Craven didn't look at it. Because Venom 3, for me, all of these movies are the same. All of these movies are really bottom tier for me. I'm not excited for Venom 3. I'm not excited for Madam Web or especially Craven. I think Craven looks awful. Madam Web depends on what it is. And Venom 3, we don't really know the plot of this movie. They've only just announced that it's going to come out November 8th, 2024. So we got a release date. And that's all we really got for this movie. Now, the first Venom movie was an awful movie. It was very bad. But it was a very enjoyable movie at the same time. It was a very fun movie. It was a bad but fun movie. The second one was just bad. And I felt like they try to force a lot of the fun aspects. It's like they saw what worked in the first Venom movie and they overdid it. They were like, ooh, let's make this the main center. Ooh, a lot of people like Venom being a little goofy. Let's just make that Venom's whole personality. Let's just make him super goofy. And I understand that's kind of how he is in the comics at the same time. But I felt like just in terms of talking about movies, they overdid it in the movie. And especially for a movie that had Carnage, one of Venom's greatest villains ever, his arch nemesis. And and then I thought that movie should have been rated R too. I think when you have Carnage, it should be rated R. There's a couple of ideas they could do. They could do Toxin, which they teased in Venom Let There Be Carnage. And then there was such an out there plot for Venom 3 that I honestly could not believe it. Now, I'm not going to say it because I don't know if it's true, but just be aware that there was this crazy ass Venom 3 plot leak that you would think is fake, but knowing Sony, I wouldn't put it past them. And on top of that, it's also very similar to the supposed plot leak for Madam Web that was also confirmed to be fake. But I'm like, so clearly there's this, I don't want to give it away, but clearly Sony likes this idea because they're either going to do this in Venom 3 or Madam Web. It makes more sense to do it in Madam Web than Venom 3. But clearly somebody at Sony likes this idea so much that they're trying to like make one of their movies this. I'm not going to say it, but I'm just saying that's a little weird for a Venom story. And like I said, we don't know anything, but at least what I would hope is that they dial down the comedy a little bit. Just a little bit. I think it was a little too much in the second one. I feel like just nothing happened in the second one. You had Carnage, and I still felt like, nothing really happened in this movie. Even the post-credit scene with Venom, where he gets transported into the MCU, did not matter. So I hope Venom 3 is just at least better than Venom Let There Be Carnage. At least I thought Venom Let There Be Carnage was an awful movie. I thought it was very bad. It was a pretty bad movie. But heading into number 2, Joker Folie à Deux. I don't know if I fully pronounced that right. We're probably going to learn it in the marketing campaign. But Joker 2. This is a movie where I've been very apprehensive about it. However, Todd Phillips is returning. Joaquin Phoenix is returning. And they have Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn. And some of the set photos they showed is very interesting. It has me interested in Joker 2. I'm like, oh, this could be interesting. But it seems like this is more of a Harley Quinn movie. I don't want to jump to assumptions yet, but it seems like this is more focused on Harley Quinn, which is fine. And I think doing a movie focused on Joker and Harley Quinn's love is actually very interesting because it is a very complex relationship and it is a very toxic relationship. And if there's a director that I trust to tell this story with the maturity level that Birds of Prey lacked, then it's Todd Phillips. And I think he could do this story justice. The Harley Quinn animated series also kind of focused on this story, but it was a little bit more comedic. Knowing how the first Joker movie is, this will probably more have a horror spin to it. And by horror, I don't mean, oh, it's going to be super scary like a horror movie. I mean, like, there's going to be a sense of, oh my God, Joker is actually, like, abusing Harley Quinn. Like, wow, like, we kind of, like, we didn't take it for granted. We knew that part of the story was there. But if there's somebody like Todd Phillips to really invoke how messed up this relationship is, it is Todd Phillips to do this story. And I think in terms of a progression for his character, it makes sense because his mom was an awful person. His mom was an awful person that abused and neglected him. So obviously he's not all there. And maybe some of those tendencies from his mom might be in him. And now he treats certain people like Harleen Quinzel. So that could be interesting. So why isn't this my number 1? Because I love the Joker movie. Well, love is a strong word. I really like the Joker movie. I know a lot of people nowadays have kind of turned on this movie and said, Joker's not great. And I respect people's opinion. Sure, I don't think Joker's at the same level as the Batman. But the reason why I said I love the Joker movie to an extent is because it was unapologetic to show the flaws in human society. Joker wasn't the hero of this movie. He for sure did stuff that was messed up, but society wasn't squeaky clean either. And that's what I like about the Joker movie, where it was like, yeah, Joker still did something horrible in this movie. He still killed somebody on TV, but the rest of society isn't all squeaky clean either. And I like kind of the unfiltered and rawness of the Joker movie, because what the Joker movies are about is to highlight a certain aspect in our human culture or nature that's not really good. The first Joker movie was about society and more highlighting the flaws and corruption of society and how something like what was his name before he was Joker? Arthur. How somebody like Arthur could become Joker because of something like society. I think now Joker 2, and I think this is very timely now, it's going to focus on toxic relationships. And if you've been on the internet, that's been a topic that has become way more relevant because there are definitely a lot of toxic relationships have been around forever, but in this generation, there's been a lot more toxicity just in general, and there's been a lot more just toxic relationships happening. So I think Joker 2, similar to how it was able to capture something in 2019, I think Joker 2 could capture something that could very much be relevant now, or could still be relevant by the time the movie comes out, maybe even more so. So who knows? But the way I'm talking about this movie, it could be number one. The only problem is that I don't know if Joker really needed a sequel. I thought Joker was a great just standalone movie, and that is, again, that's a very fine line to walk for a comic book movie sequel. We're not even talking about comic book movies. We're just talking about the like, just as a movie in general. But in terms of just anticipation, in terms of like how excited I am looking forward to what Todd Phillips does in Joker 2. But I wouldn't say I'm like too over the moon. I need to see what they're do. I need to see a trailer. I've seen what they're doing. I'm kind of digging it. I just need to see more of a trailer. I need to see more of just the overall where the actual like story direction is gonna go. But number one is Deadpool 3. This has also similar to Joker 2. We've waited years. I mean, well, we didn't really wait for the Joker movie. The Joker sequel just took years to make. Like, I don't think people were like, oh man, we really need that Joker too. Besides Grace Randolph, probably. But Deadpool 3 is definitely a movie we've been waiting forever. The last Deadpool movie was back in 2018, so we haven't had a Deadpool movie in years, which makes this more exciting because, well, now, yeah, it would have been over 6 years since the last Deadpool movie by the time this one comes out. And I think that's gonna make more people go see this movie because we haven't seen this character in forever. Yes, is Marvel Studios going through a lot of problems right now? Absolutely. But I think this movie might be perfectly safe because Ryan Reynolds has been extremely protective about the character of Deadpool. And on top of that, I mean, I would hope that it is impossible to ruin basically what is the easiest slam dunk the MCU has had since Spider-Man No Way Home, and that is, of course, having Deadpool and Wolverine just star in a movie. I think people, just from that concept alone, people were already gonna go see this movie. But you throw in kind of the multiverse idea, although people have been kind of burnt out by the multiverse idea thanks to stuff like The Flash, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and Loki has shown that if you do this concept well, people will still be excited by it. And I think Deadpool 3 could very much so use the concept of the multiverse in a more exciting way. I think also just the concept of the multiverse definitely leans more in Deadpool's favor because Deadpool is very much so a more comedic, break the fourth wall character. And because of this, and if you're playing with the multiverse, there's definitely a lot more characters and there's definitely a lot more things that this movie could get away with. Also, this will be the MCU's first R-rated project, so there's just a lot of just anticipation for this movie. I think, again, this is the easiest slam dunk Marvel has to do. Like, just give us a scene of Deadpool and Wolverine fighting, and this could potentially be another billion-dollar movie. And God knows, Marvel hasn't had a billion-dollar movie since, unironically, Spider-Man No Way Home back in 2021. So, I mean, that's also my prediction. I think Deadpool 3 will be the first. I think this will be the first MCU movie since Spider-Man No Way Home to break $1 billion because there's just so much around it. Like, people are, I mean, A, we haven't seen Deadpool in years. B, it's going to be a Deadpool and Wolverine movie, something people have been waiting for years. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman get to meet up with each other. That's a pretty big deal. They get to do a movie again with each other after all these years. You're playing with the multiverse. You're playing with the introduction of potentially X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and literally everything else is just a cherry on top to what could easily be one of Marvel's best movies if they played their cards right. At the same time, like I said, Marvel could not play their cards right, and this could also be one of their worst movies. There's literally no in-between. They can't afford Deadpool 3 to be another mediocre movie. Deadpool 3 has to be the best of the best, or it could turn out to be one of the worst of the worst. I don't want to put that expectation on that movie, but clearly there's a lot of love for the Deadpool character with Ryan Reynolds, so I would assume that he for sure knows what he's doing with this character. And Sean Levy directed some pretty solid movies like Free Guy. I heard some good stuff about the Adam Project. He's also directed Night of the Museum, and he's also directed some of the best episodes of the Stranger Things series. So I think he is a very good director in terms of leading this project. But yeah, overall, I would say Deadpool 3 is my most anticipated comic book movie of next year. So looking at this list, I know it's not an ideal list, and I know, this list isn't great, but out of all these movies, which one are you most excited for? I know a majority of you are probably going to say Deadpool 3. Maybe some of you might say Joker 2 or Venom 3. But let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys at the